Oh, will the Committee of Supply please come to order? This section of the Committee of Supply will now consider the estimates of the Department of Justice. Does the Honourable Minister have an opening statement?
I do.
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Appreciate the opportunity to join you this afternoon and members of the committee for this year's estimates. It's truly an honor and a privilege to be joining you here for my first time in estimates on this side of the table as the Minister of Justice and the Attorney General to introduce our 2024-2025 budgetary estimates for Manitoba Justice. Budget 24 lays the groundwork for the department's work on a number of strategies and initiatives that support our government's goal of ensuring our province and our communities across Manitoba are protected, safe, and healthy. Initiatives will address public safety, youth crime, and provide better outcomes for youth, women, and LGBTQIS2S+ with investment supporting tough on crime and tough on the causes of crime approaches. With the prevalence of serious violent crime rising over the last several years, a department-wide integrated approach to public safety is critical. The government's work through a public safety strategy that will be informed by the Public Safety Summit that will bring together community leaders and partners will guide an informed and meaningful response to ensure that we are addressing the root causes of crime and all of government work is working towards a common priority of community well-being. This includes recognizing the importance of addressing the root causes of violence in families and communities through prevention, reintegration, and healing. Coordinated efforts will include policing and supporting resources to disrupt sophisticated criminal activity, maximize efficiency, and increase public safety. Budget 24 includes investments to support a public safety strategy. The recently announced bail reform plan, a multifaceted strategy, reflects our commitment to protect public safety by being tougher on repeat violent offenders, promoting confidence in the administration of justice, and ensuring consistency and fairness in the approach to bail across the province. Budget 24 includes an investment of $3 million in police resources to help track down offenders who violate their bail conditions. Law enforcement enhancements will strengthen efforts to arrest repeat violent offenders who knowingly breach their court-imposed release conditions, including those charged with intimate partner violence offenses. These investments will make our communities safer by addressing individuals who pose a serious risk to the safety and well-being of our community. Budget 24 also invests $514,000 to expand capabilities to provide robust reporting capacity to inform decision-making at provincial and federal levels, and $500,000 to enhance community monitoring and supervision of those released on bail. In addition, Budget 24 invests $1.5 million to support an electronic monitoring program, which will provide an additional layer of accountability for individuals under community supervision. Budget 24 includes investments in our First Nations and Inuit policing program, which is a federal contribution program administered through Public Safety Canada. It provides funding alongside provinces to support policing and public safety for First Nations communities across Canada. An additional $8.7 million in provincial funding has been allocated to support the First Nations and Inuit policing program, while we continue to establish a First Nations safety officer programs in 44 First Nations across Manitoba. We will be expanding the role of safety officers in 24-25 to grant officers the ability to provide administrative and logistical support in both criminal and non-criminal matters. Protecting Manitobans and their personal property is critical to support Manitoba families. Budget 24 includes a commitment to provide a $300 security rebate to families and businesses for the purpose of purchasing, installing, or upgrading their security systems. Manitoba Justice's vision is to ensure that all citizens, including our youth, feel safe in their communities and have the confidence in the justice system. To address youth crime and to protect our vulnerable people, Budget 24 is investing in expanding community mobilization programs to include additional neighborhoods and areas in Manitoba, as well as more intensive supports for youth. This expansion includes the advancement of culturally relevant education and learning supports for Indigenous youth involved or at risk of involvement in the criminal justice system. Investments include $1.2 million to support 15 community mobilization programs, which provide coordinated, client-centered interventions that bring together law enforcement, health, and social services, as well as community organizations to provide integrated, intensive supports to at-risk and vulnerable individuals and families. Budget 24 also invests an additional $660,000 in intensive rehabilitative custody and supervision programs for youth. Intensive rehabilitative custody supervision sentences are imposed under the Youth Criminal Justice Act and are utilized for youth who have been convicted of a serious violent offense with complex mental health needs deemed to require specialized additional interventions. These sentences provide designated youth access to therapy, mental health support, psychiatric or psychological interventions that may otherwise be unavailable, additional staffing and assessments, and other individually identified supports as well. In 24-25, Manitoba Justice will focus on cross-departmental efforts to improve health and social outcomes for women, girls, and LGBTQIA 2S+ folks who are involved in the justice system. Strategies will target improving mental, spiritual, and physical health while supporting safe housing and increasing economic opportunities. Manitoba Justice recognizes that the root causes of crimes are multifaceted and require cross-departmental and multidisciplinary approaches to address the various contributors to crime, such as substance abuse and mental health challenges. The department is committed to working with our Housing, Addictions, and Homelessness Department and law enforcement agencies to hire new mental health practitioners to strengthen mental health resources for those citizens who require alternative safety and wellness responses. Budget 24 invests $4 million in new funding to support 25 new mental health positions, with a plan to hire a total of 100 new mental health workers over the next several years. Budget 24 also invests an additional $500,000 to support 2 sobering centers in Brandon and in Thompson. The Brandon Sobering Center with a transitional housing project in the city of Brandon and the Sobering Center in the city of Thompson, with direct involvement and support from MKO, are intended to improve public and community safety, utilizing restorative justice options to build safer communities and reduce crime. The overall goal of both initiatives is to reduce recidivism rates and to increase the housing supply for people at risk of homelessness. In addition, Manitoba Justice will be expanding restorative justice and community justice programming with the aim of diverting more cases, where appropriate, outside of the formal justice system. Restorative justice is an approach to crime that decreases recidivism rates and advances Indigenous justice reconciliation by emphasizing the wrongs done to individuals and communities, addressing the harms, and responding to the underlying causes of offending. Expanding these programs will help in further decreasing recidivism rates in both victims and offenders in the criminal justice system. The department remains committed to collaborating with Indigenous communities to support reconciliation and address the overrepresentation of Indigenous people in the criminal justice system. Budget 24 invests an additional $320,000 to support the Indigenous Court Worker Program. The program facilitates and enhances access to justice by assisting Indigenous persons, those are both adults and youth, who've been charged with an offense under any federal or provincial statute, municipal bylaw, or otherwise involved in the criminal justice system, to obtain fair and equitable, as well as culturally relevant, treatment. Organized crime in Manitoba benefits from the secrecy of beneficial ownership or the ability to benefit from having an interest in property, while the legal ownership of the property is under another name, such as a corporation. This can be used as a tool for money laundering. We have introduced Bill 30, the Unexplained Wealth Act. With this, Manitoba will adopt a registry of beneficial owners who have significant control of provincially incorporated companies that is accessible to law enforcement, government tax entities, and regulators. In addition, we have introduced Bill 29, the Body Armor and Fortified Vehicle Control Act, to prohibit hidden compartments being added to the vehicle after it was manufactured. Finally, Honorable Chair, I'd like to take the opportunity to extend my sincerest gratitude and commend the tireless efforts of all Manitoba Justice employees throughout this period of transition. The unwavering dedication and steadfast commitment to our staff in their duties to serve Manitobans and create a safer province for all is truly inspiring. On behalf of everyone in our great province, thank you so much for your service. And with that, I'll conclude my remarks.
We thank the minister for those comments. Does the critic for the official opposition have an opening statement? The honourable member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honorary Chairperson, for the opportunity to bring forward some words on my first time here at Estimates. And I look forward to having a robust discussion on finance and funding for the entire justice portfolio. As I've mentioned before, my career path was 33 years in law enforcement, and the last probably 15 years of that was in the senior administration of our police service. So I'm acutely aware of both the needs on the street level, but also at the administration level and the government level, because government is a primary supplier of funding for police services, whether it be federal government through transfer payments, whether it be provincial government through payments to municipalities, or municipal governments themselves supporting their police services through the police boards and through the Police Services Act. So I look forward to having this discussion and hopefully some better insight into where Budget 24-25 is heading. I would put the last few words on the record is I would also like to thank my former colleagues at Manitoba Justice and all of the law enforcement, first responders, emergency services for the tireless effort that they put forth to protect the citizens of our province, of our cities, of our jurisdictions. And I know the immense amount of work that is undertaken by the Department of Justice and all of the employees in there. So I would like to thank them for their efforts and their commitment to making Manitoba a safer place for all. Thank you.
We thank the member. Under Manitoba practice, a debate on the minister's salary is the last item considered for a department in the Committee of Supply. Accordingly, we shall now defer consideration of line item 4.1A contained in Resolution 4.1. At this time, we invite the minister's staff to join us at the table. We ask that the minister introduce the staff in attendance.
Awesome.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Very, very pleased to be joined today by Maria Campos, who is our Assistant Deputy Minister of Corporate and Strategic Services, who is incredibly knowledgeable and especially for this process, I think will be a great resource for the committee. We're also joined by Owen Ferguson, who's our Acting Assistant Deputy Minister of Public Safety. Very pleased that both of them could join us here today. And again, I hope that we can have some fruitful discussion this afternoon.
Thank you, Minister. According to our Rule 7816, during the consideration of departmental estimates, questioning of each department shall proceed in a global manner, with questions put separately on all resolutions, and once the official opposition critic indicates that questioning has concluded. The floor is now open for questions.
Thank you very much.
The Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. And I just wonder, before we start, if the Minister could also introduce his staff that's here, his political staff.
The Honourable Minister.
Despite their shy nature and how they do not like to be the focus of attention, I'm happy to introduce our staff that are here. This is Rory McLeod, who is my DOMA. He is my Chief of Staff in my office, and we also have joining us here today my Executive Assistant, Keisha Westlake.
The Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Thank you, Minister, for that introduction. It's always nice to know who's at the table when we're here. So if I could introduce Larissa Gouard, who is part of our PC team as a researcher. I will lead right into my first question, if I may. Lately, Minister, we've been hearing a great deal about retail theft and the issues that are facing not only Winnipeg, but I can say unequivocally many communities throughout Manitoba. The uptick in violence and prolific offenders is very concerning to not only law enforcement, but more importantly, the citizens that we serve and the businesses and the owners that run these businesses. In September of 2020, under the Progressive Conservative government, a retail crime task force was established to support a safe and thriving retail community. And this task force was one of the recommendations that came out of the Manitoba Retail Council Roundtable. It included representatives from Manitoba Justice, the Winnipeg Police Service, Brandon Police Service, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, national, local, and independent retailers, private security firms, Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries, commissionaires, Manitoba, the Retail Council of Canada, as well as MNP. Can the Minister provide for us an update on whether this task force is active in light of all of these recent crime sprees?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Well, I wanted to start by, I guess thanking my critic for starting with this important issue, because as he heard very clearly in the House today, it's certainly an area that we're hearing about in the media now, and it's certainly getting attention. But just at the grassroots level, maybe I'll say we've been working with communities, as he said, across the province over the last number of months, and we've been hearing some of the concerns that that businesses have, that communities have, and this is really an important area to focus on and to ensure that we're taking action. That's why we were very happy today to talk about additional resources that are going to be provided to the Winnipeg Police Service immediately to increase their capacity in the short term, to ensure that they're able to deal with hotspots that have developed over the last short time, but also over the next period of time, where they can continue to do that important work that they're doing over and above the work that they that we're funding and partnering with them to do for public safety across our city. We, what we wanted to do is we wanted to ensure that we're taking the concerns of all communities and all groups very seriously. And so beyond sort of the retail task force, we wanted to ensure that we were listening to everybody. And that's why it was a very unique opportunity to bring everybody together at our Public Safety Summit, which I can't say enough good things about in terms of the collaboration that I saw happening at that event. The number of folks that came forward that thanked us for initiating this process, being led by the Premier. It was across the board. It was well received. I would venture to say, and the critic can correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think that it was a unique opportunity that hadn't been done before, and so I think there was a lot of value in it. What we're undertaking as a government is to take that information that was shared and was gathered at that summit, and to now use that and utilize that in a way that will be constructive in building those partnerships and also ensuring that communities across Manitoba understand we're listening to them and we're responding to their unique needs. Again, appreciate that the member opposite mentioned rural communities and the frustrations they're having. We traveled already outside of the perimeter to communities like Brandon. We traveled to Swan River. We've been all over the province, and we're going to continue to do that work. That's the next step in terms of the formal process around the Public Safety Summit, is to bring that across the province. But we've heard from those communities, and not least of which through the good work that's being done at AMM, where we heard from them directly about some of the concerns in their communities, and had a chance to set up one-on-one meetings to ensure that we were listening to those communities. So the work is being done, and what I would suggest is that it's being done in a way that has never been done before, and it's more robust and more fulsome than has ever been done before, which is an important part of this, is to make sure that we're expanding our focus, to make sure that we're listening to all folks who are in this space, who are working towards making our communities safer, and all of those folks who are being frustrated by the rise in crime and public safety in our communities. So it's important to broaden that out, and that's been an important and a good exercise, and certainly been informative to me as minister. With regards to the retail crime task force, my understanding is that committee met this week on Monday. They continue to do good work. We continue to collaborate with them, and continue to reach out to them to continue to guide how we can best support retailers in Manitoba and throughout Winnipeg.
The honourable member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Minister, for that answer, and I'm certainly happy to hear that the Retail Crime Task Force is continuing their great work. I myself was a member of that task force in my previous occupation, and I know the importance and the relevance that task force brought forward to all sectors that were involved, and appreciate the work and the commentary that was brought forward, not only in law enforcement, but as it spans to Crown attorneys, the courts, and certainly restorative justice programs afterwards that can be looked into. But during your answer, Minister, you did speak about the announcement that you made today in the chamber, and discussions I believe you had with media afterwards regarding funding the Winnipeg Police Service for specifically retail crime. And so I'd like to ask a few questions on that. as we move forward. I'm wondering how much the department or the ministry will be giving to Winnipeg Police Service, and what the timeline for the use of these funds is going to be.
The Honorable Minister of Justice.
So again, I want to be very clear for members of the committee that this is an immediate response. So our expectation is that this will be, that the money, the funding with regards to what's coming from the province will be immediate. But more importantly, in terms of how we see this rolling out is you know, we don't, there's additional work that is going to be done and is being done in the department to better fund and support police and law enforcement across the province. But specifically in this instance, what we're looking at is an immediate response. So the expectation is this is over and above the already increased funding that's been offered in Budget 24 to the WPS. But the expectation is that this is rolling out immediately. And we know that the Winnipeg Police Service has been a great partner for us. And they are, you know, willing to continue to work to support our government's initiatives. They understand the basic concept of getting tough on crime and getting tough on the causes of crime. They understand that over the long term, that the investments that our government is making in mental health and addictions, in housing, in education, in healthcare, in the Department of Families, these will all pay dividends over the long term. And I think their members appreciate that we're taking a serious approach, that we're taking a long-term vision when it comes to enhancing safety throughout our communities. So they certainly appreciate that overall and that long-term work. But what we're seeing here today is over and above that, and is over and above the investments that we're already making. It is money that it has been budgeted for in Budget 24. And it is money that will essentially move quickly to get out to those hotspots where we see some of the most difficult situations playing out right now, to de-escalate some of those situations. And so, you know, we're very encouraged by the partnerships that we already have. Again, with WPS, with the City of Winnipeg, the mayor has been a great partner on this. We want to develop those relationships. We're working with the mayor's office in multiple different ways. But we want to get this out as quickly as possible, and that's why we wanted to announce it today, to give people that sense of, you know, that somebody's doing something about this, that we're not going to sit idly by. We're not going to sit by and allow people's safety to be compromised. So it's been a great partnership. We're going to continue to build on that. But this is in addition to the other initiatives that we've announced when it comes to bail and enhancing bail reform in our province. Again, not just talk, not just you know, blaming others, blaming other levels of government, throwing up our hands, saying there's nothing we can do. Our government is taking real action when it comes to violent offenders, when it comes to repeat offenders, which, again, in this case, we hear very often, that these are people who are coming back and repeat offending. We're taking action on those. And we're setting the standard. We're setting the standard within prosecutions, and we need to make sure that we're paying attention to the safety and security in community, about the impacts to communities, and we need them to be responsive to those needs as well. And so this is really in addition to the multiple different ways that we're already enhancing public safety across our province. And we want to ensure that we're being responsive to retailers, but we're being responsive wherever there's a need. If somebody picks up the phone and needs to call for help, needs to call the police, we want to ensure that they're getting the response that they need to keep them safe. That's what this is all about. It's an important initiative, and we're excited that we'll be able to roll this out as soon as possible.
The honourable member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Chairperson. So again, I ask how much is being provided to Winnipeg Police Service, and where are these funds coming from?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. So the from Budget 24, the amount that's being allocated towards the WPS in terms of their basket funding is $24 million. In addition to that, we are funding $3.9 million for additional foot patrols. $3.8 million is going directly for missing persons. $1.7 million towards the violent apprehension unit. $3 million on the bail initiatives. $1.4 million in guns and gangs. So in addition to that, that funding of $24 million, this would be an additional $13.8 million for a total of $37.8 million. This money is being flowed through a variety of different projects and initiatives that our government has initiated. But that being said, we're always looking for new partnerships, and that's why when it comes to the retail crime and the impacts that we're seeing right now on our streets, this is why we wanted to flow additional funding, is because they continue to be good partners. They continue to understand the needs in community, and they understand, again, the larger impact of our government strategy when it comes to public safety. So what we're undertaking here is over and above, and we look forward to working with the Winnipeg Police Service to understand exactly what those needs will be, and looking forward to getting that information back and being able to understand how effective it's being and how we can continue to roll this out. Again, all of this work is being done now with the understanding that with the public safety strategy that our department is developing, we'll continue to build on these partnerships. We'll continue to lean on community, lean on law enforcement, lean on those people who are doing great work in our communities to keep them safe. We want to partner with them. We want to show that we're a true partner at the table. We're not going to just sit back and blame and throw political shade at other levels of government, whether that be the mayor's office, which we saw happen rampantly under a PC premier, who both in Brian Pallister and then Heather Stephenson, who you would think would have a lot of common interest with former mayors and the current mayor in the city. They should have been best of buddies, and they should have been able to work together. But we saw that it was easier for them to instead be, think of the politics first. Think of the blame as being, some cover for them, and be able to just sort of, shuffle that blame off to other levels of government. That's not the kind of politics that I signed up for. I don't think that's what Manitobans want from us. They want us to actually get to work and get things done. Likewise, no love lost with with the current prime minister, and I guess it's easy fodder, right? It's easy to go after the current prime minister and blame it all on him. Hey, there's lots that we demand out of our federal government and ask them to step up and be better partners about. But we're not going to sacrifice action and sacrifice results when it comes to public safety because we want to have that political fight. We'll have the political fight, but we're going to get things done first, and we're going to get things done that enhance community safety throughout our province first. I think if you ask the average Manitoban how politics should run, they would say that makes sense. When you say the last government talked, a big talk and then did nothing when it came to bail reform, well, I think they'd be, first of all, surprised by that maybe, but they'd also be disappointed. And the member opposite started by talking about his time in law enforcement, and I believe he was on the front line, so he should know that it matters what we do in here and how we support those front lines. I hope that he hasn't lost that perspective now that he's here, because it's not beneficial to get into these political games and read the notes that are provided by political staffers. I think it's important to actually make a difference in our communities.
The honourable member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Chairperson. And that's a great segue of what the minister left off with. I came from years of law enforcement where we remained apolitical, and I don't believe we should politicize public safety. It should be something that is looked at for the betterment of all Manitobans. So I'll just mention that I ask specific questions, and the minister takes up the 5 minutes of time that he's allowed to answer politicizing this event. So I'm going to try and keep this to what we're here to do, and that's discuss estimates and answer questions that are put forward on this. So you mentioned that the funding is going to be over and above, I believe it was doing over and above what they are already doing. And you said you're going to continue to lean on law enforcement. The bail plan that you had brought forward was putting money into officers that the Winnipeg Police Service has been on record saying they can't hire until the fall. They're already stressed to the max, as are all police services with staffing. So is this money being put forward reasonable to expect more work from law enforcement that is already taxed and their mental health is taxed with overburdened work already?
A reminder to all members that questions should be put through the chair directly and not addressed through members. Honourable Minister of Justice.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, for that reminder. And thank you to the member of the opposition who mentioned the stresses and the mental health of our frontline and first responders. I've been in this building a minute now, and I've seen some pretty incredible things and some pretty incredible moments. But probably one of the most memorable and one of the most special for me was when we were able to bring members of the Winnipeg Fire Service, as well as many others from across the province, other members of the Winnipeg Police Service and the RCMP, and many other first responders to this building to honor one of their fallen comrades. It was a powerful moment, and it was a powerful day, and what made it that much more powerful was that the family was willing to use this tragedy to raise awareness of the challenges that first responders face with regards to their mental health. It was something that I think I'll always remember, and to that end, I think it'll help motivate, or should help motivate, all of us to act. We're very proud on that day to be able to announce that specifically for first responders, we would be deploying 3 additional mental health workers to support the mental health struggles that so many face. We know it's just a start. It's just the beginning of an important initiative. And it's building on our overall commitment around mental health workers in community. But to specifically be able to allocate individual mental health worker specifically for the Winnipeg Police and for law enforcement was a big step that day. So it was moving, but it was also a call to action, and that's why our government proceeded to act. With regards to the question and the comments around resources, and personnel, as the member rightly identifies, there are certainly challenges. He would know this from his time in the Brandon Police Service. We know challenges exist within the RCMP, and certainly that's not, the WPS is not immune to those challenges as well. That's why it's important to have these partnerships to show that the funding and the support is available for those officers in these new units. The member opposite identified our bail enforcement officers who will be doing great work. And we're continuing to partner with the WPS to get those online. But this specific funding is immediate. And what I mean by that is it gives the WPS, it will give the WPS the opportunity to bring people on right now who are already officers, but this is additional time that they'll be able to spend in our communities, so that when people pick up the phone and identify that there's been an issue, that they're getting a response. That's what people expect, and that's what we're funding. I would imagine, well, I don't have to imagine, I suppose, we have the words of the member himself when he was with the Brandon Police Service. He said, resources are tight. The funding from government has been reduced. We don't have the resources to do what we need to do. That's the response he got from the former Stephenson government. That's the response that he got from Brian Pallister. And, from our government, law enforcement's going to hear, we want to be partners with you. We want to continue to fund the good work that you're doing and find new ways that we can support the work that you're doing to keep our communities safe. So we're not going to close the door. We're not going to pick fights. We're going to be partners. We're going to be partners with law enforcement. We're going to be partners with other levels of government. And ultimately, we're going to make our communities safer. That's what we were elected to do, and that's been our focus and will continue to be our focus.
The Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Just for the record, again, Minister mentioned that there was reduced funding. Brandon Police Service actually received no reduced funding year after year. I was in the chamber and presented the funding that was provided by our police board to the Brandon Police Service, and it was above inflation each year. So every level of government worked together, and the job of the police board is to make sure that funding continues for police services under the Police Services Act, to make sure that the funding is there to support the police services and the work within the police services. So just wanted to put that on the record, but also further to the questions that I asked, I just want to clarify, these dollars that are going to go to the Winnipeg Police Service for retail crime enforcement, is this specifically for, I got this right, specifically for overtime hours, and it is no net new positions?
The Honorable Minister of Justice.
Well, the member opposite wants to bring up the, I guess, past estimates. And we can, I think we can do that. I don't know that there's anything in the rules that prevent us from going back to 2016, to 2017, to 2018, to 2019, to 2020, to 2021, to 2022, where every single year the previous government froze out municipalities. Froze or cut, in some cases, froze funding towards municipalities. And that included the dollars that are supposed to be allocated towards policing. And so, again, I would hope that he's not defending the previous government's actions, because I know he was frustrated when he was the chief of police. He was frustrated that they didn't have enough resources to do the work that they needed to do. And now he sits in a caucus where, he doesn't have to ask this minister, he can ask the former Minister of Justice. He can ask ministers who sit at this table who have information about why that decision was made. Did they fight Brian Pallister at the cabinet table to say, this isn't right? I thought we were the party of funding the police. That's what we've been telling people. And Brian Pallister said, no, let's cut it, let's freeze it, let's make municipalities squirm. That's their record. And so, it's a new day in the legislature. There's a new government that's listening, that's working on supporting communities. Might I suggest that it could be a new day for the opposition, right? It could be, but it isn't, because all they want to do is talk about defending their previous record. It's frustrating. It's frustrating because we know the challenges that law enforcement are facing are real. They are real in terms of enhanced or increased scrutiny that they face out in the field, the stresses of the job and the kinds of situations they're dealing with have become more acute and more challenging. And so they need to know that they have a government, they have a provincial government that's supporting them, that's stepping up, not just with words and rhetoric. And the member opposite uses some rhetoric. I mean, maybe he's not going to use it here today, but he uses rhetoric that he just knows isn't true in the House. I guess, again, written by a political staffer, maybe by Shannon Martin or somebody else behind the scenes. I would hope that he would keep that kind of language out of the House, because I don't think it's helpful. But they need to know that we stand as a government with the work that they're doing. Now, again, challenges are many, and not least of which is ensuring that there's enough officers to do the work that's out there. And so that's why we have worked with law enforcement to provide the funding and enhance the number of officers that are out there. 6 additional staff in the violent apprehension unit who have been staffed up, and additional officers on foot patrol that are coming out. 12 new officers coming in the fall, and more to follow. our bail unit, which the member opposite has criticized in the past and now seems to be maybe in favor of. I hope he would be, because they're going to be doing important work too. 12 new officers that will be coming as part of that work. But these are new positions, these are new resources, and now in addition to those new resources that have already been provided, we're offering an immediate assistance for the people of Manitoba. We're offering additional resources to deal with retail crime and to deal with hotspots across our province as we head into the summer season. It's important. It's an important investment, and it's been well received by the mayor, by retailers, by members of the public. Folks know that they want action. They don't want just rhetoric. They want action, and so that's why we're taking action. And we know the challenges will continue in law enforcement, but if they know that they have a true partner, along with true dollars, that will be a big step in the right direction about making our communities safer.
Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Chairperson, and just want to re-ask the question because not really clear. This is not for new positions. This is overtime for a reactive response.
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Yeah, and I appreciate the member opposite being specific in this question, and so I'll be specific in my answer. Yes, this is additional overtime resource, or resources that we understand will be utilized in terms of overtime to deploy the resources immediately. But I don't want to lose sight of the fact that there are additional positions as well that are being now funded and developed through the WPS. And likewise, we're working right now with the RCMP, who have a 20% vacancy rate across the province. And and so when we talk to communities, we hear about the challenges that they're having in staffing and in resources. It's about going to the federal government and saying we need to ensure that we have these resources for communities across this province. I mentioned to the member opposite, I was recently up in Swan River, and of course we know some of the challenges that have happened out in that community. And they have been doing great work in working together with, again, community partners, with the First Nations in that part of the province and surrounding communities to come up with a whole plan when it comes to community safety. And the only missing piece, I would argue, because these are folks who have been, screaming and shouting at the top of their lungs to say, there's real challenges out here in our part of the province, in the Parkland and in Swan River specifically. The only missing piece was that the provincial government wasn't at the table. That didn't come in a way that was constructive, and to say, how can we work with you? How can we support you? So when we were up there, we had great set of meetings, but we also committed to the folks there that we're coming back. We're going to come back with our public safety summit. We're going to be listening to communities out there, again, all the communities that are out in that area of the province, about how we can support them and how we can work with them to enhance community safety. The city of Brandon, again, I've spent a lot of time in Brandon over the last few months, and great partners. The mayor in Brandon is somebody who's, I think, coming to this in a very good way, and in a very legitimate way about, he's not playing politics. I don't know what his politics are. Frankly, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is are we going to work together to get things done? The member's successor in at the Brandon Police Service again, great partners, willing to work with us, share their needs and how we can partner, but coming to it in a good way. So that's the kind of relationships that we're building and we're developing. It's not just about Winnipeg, but in this case, what we're looking to do is to deal with specific issues that we've heard in our communities. And I would venture, I'm looking over at the other side of the table, realize nobody's from Winnipeg, so maybe I'll look on this side of the table, and I see we've got lots of members from Winnipeg. And what are they telling us? They're telling us that we're seeing these issues in our communities, and we need to send a clear response from government that we stand with community, we stand with you to make your communities safer, and we're not going to sit by and just concede that this is the way it is. This is the way it was under the previous government. It's not going to be that way anymore. And again, WPS has been a great partner of the City of Winnipeg and the Mayor's office. Retailers, we had an opportunity to reach out and speak to several retailers who have been impacted by this, and they're looking for constructive solutions as well. They came to our public safety summit. We met with the Retail Council. We met with with Restaurants Canada. We met with a whole number of people, and they're telling us they want to be part of the solution. They've never seen this kind of engagement from a government before. So it's certainly a new day in that regard, and we're going to do that work. We're going to continue to listen to those community partners, and when we do have an opportunity to talk about public safety in kind of a larger sense going forward, we're going to have some constructive and some good initiatives to talk about then. Right now, we're addressing the needs in community today.
Member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Again, I appreciate that full 5 minutes of political dialogue to answer a very simple question. As I said, Manitobans expect us to do better and to ask these questions and have answers that are going to help Manitobans and help us when we do our estimates here. So the minister mentioned something that's very important, and that is retail crime and how it's affecting not only Winnipeg, but rural Manitoba as well. And I can speak from rural Manitoba because probably 80% of our caucus represents rural Manitoba, and all I've heard so far here is Winnipeg, 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 and the money that's going to go to the Winnipeg Police Service. Let me ask about the 3 other major police services within Manitoba, and there is 12 recognized police services within Manitoba, and then if you expand it out to natural resources and those other enforcement agencies. So there is the next in line, obviously the RCMP, funding going to them for all of the places such as Thompson, the Paw, Swan River that you were just at. What about Brandon Police Service and the information that we're hearing from retailers there about the constant thefts that are happening there? And I'm sure that my esteemed colleague from Brandon East would want to know what's happening within our shared city. I know my colleague from Spruce Woods is also interested in that. And lastly, the third largest Manitoba First Nations Police Service, what is being offered up to each of those and the other 9 police services, or are they just being left to fend for themselves in this wave of retail crime?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Well, I'm surprised that the member opposite started by saying I was taking up too much airtime and then asks me to take up more airtime when it comes to talking about our rural, our support for rural crime and safety across the province. I mean, yeah, there's lots to say because we've been working hard. We've been working hard at supporting municipalities in a way that they, quite frankly, haven't seen in the last 2 terms of government. And members around this table know very, very clearly. I was at many of those AMM meetings and conventions during the time of the previous government, and I saw firsthand, in fact, the moment where the former premier was shamed into taking the drive out to Brandon at the last minute to make a last-ditch election time commitment that was apparently never budgeted for, or it didn't have any record of going through Treasury Board. And I literally saw in real time the phone call being made by members opposite. You better get out here. We're in real trouble. And thankfully, we had AMM doing that important work of advocating for their municipalities, advocating for rural Manitoba, and holding that former government to account. And all of a sudden, there was a scramble, and I don't know how they got the premier out there so quickly, but they drove her out, you know, probably breaking the speed limit on highway number 1 to get her out to Brandon to do a mea culpa and to beg for forgiveness and to say, oh, don't worry, just trust us. Give us 4 more years and just we'll get it right then. Well, Manitobans rejected that, and with good reason. And so then when I became minister responsible and Minister of Justice, I took the opportunity to not just say we were going to listen to rural Manitoba, but to actually take the time to meet with municipalities from all parts of our province. All parts of our province. I wasn't picking and choosing. I wasn't, you know, listening to one community over the other. We heard firsthand the struggles that they were having in Swan River. We heard specifically what was happening in Thompson. The member mentions Thompson, another important community that Mayor Smook is doing a great job of representing the challenges that they face, which are unique, which are different than other places in our province. Again, I've spent a lot of time in Brandon lately, you know, but we started that work immediately. It was one of the first undertakings that I took, and it was a big undertaking because there was a lot of challenges that had happened under the previous government that they wanted to let us know about. So I worked with the municipalities individually, and since then we've worked with AMM at every step of the way, and that's why we're pleased to be partnering with them in this spring time period. The regional meetings, I keep looking at the member for Dauphin over there, who knows very well how many miles those folks put on at the AMM executive, and all of the representatives from the different regions who travel the province and really listen to folks. We're going to be joining them, and we're going to be listening to them directly again this spring. It's important work, and it's an important part of our public safety strategy. But again, frozen funding from members opposite year over year over year. We're not going to take that approach. We increased our funding, so just so that the members are clear about the support to the Brandon Police Service, $7.4 million is in the urban policing grant, the $1.5 million in the basket funding, $225,000 for the Guns and Gangs initiative, and the $175,000 to the MCIC, which totals $9.65 million. In addition to that, the RCMP is receiving $193 million in our budget this year, which is an increase from 23-24, and it shows our specific commitment to working with law enforcement and partnering with them as they go forward. Municipalities matter, and the voices in rural Manitoba matter. Our cities across this province matter, and that's why we're increasing our funding, we're increasing our support to them, and we're going to continue to be good partners and good, good partners as a province.
Members' time has expired. Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson, for reminding when the time expires, because it's a 5 full minutes of, again, putting in an answer but doing politicking. So I'll ask directly. Today's announcement, the minister says he's not picking or choosing any winners or losers. Today's announcement gives money to Winnipeg Police Service. I know I'm probably missing one or two here, but what about Altona, Winkler, Morden, Rivers, Brandon, RCMP, Manitoba First Nations Police Service, Victoria Beach, St. Anne, the RM of Cornwallis, to name a few of the other police services? Will any of them be receiving funding, or are they out on their own?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Yeah, I was hoping the member opposite went a little quick in his list, because I was able to sort of, as he was going along, check off all the communities that I've met with as minister. And if he had slowed down a little bit, I might have even been able to say I met with all of them. And again, that's important work that we're continuing to do. But the one set of communities that unfortunately the member opposite left off of his list was our First Nations communities. And that's unfortunate, because not only when we're talking to municipalities, cities, towns across our province, do they often almost immediately recognize the important work that's being done by First Nations in their vicinity and the partnerships that they've developed. I also would say that every meeting that we've taken with First Nations partners has been absolutely a posture of how can we work together, how can we get things done. And so we know that it's an important part of kind of the overall public safety throughout our province. And again, municipalities understand that. We as government understand those partnerships. I hope that members opposite will get on board with that important work. They certainly didn't in the past, and it's frustrating. And so that's why, as an important part of our budget 24, is we wanted to ensure that there was $8.5 million for the First Nations, the FNIPP, the First Nations policing. And that work is important, but also to start deploying the First Nation safety officers throughout our province, who've been incredible partners to understand the needs in community and allow communities to direct those resources themselves, to be partners with us, certainly, and to understand that there's an important role. So we've enhanced not only the scope that First Nation safety officers are operating under, but as well as the funding. And that's important. That's an important. All told, we're talking about an increase of $8.7 million that will enhance safety and public safety on First Nations and in partnership with First Nations. And so that's an important indicator of our government's priority when it comes to working with First Nations, and seeing that we can continue to support the work that they do, and continue to support the work that they do in partnering with municipalities and with others across the province. But when it comes to the list of communities that the member opposite rattled through, again, I would suggest that is not a, that shouldn't be an exhaustive list, because I would suggest there was a lot more communities that I met with that weren't on the list that he rattled off. Maybe he's getting to it in his next question. He'll expand the list. Bottom line is we know there's challenges across the province. That's why we're listening, and that's why we're enhancing and increasing the funding that we're providing. Through the urban policing grant, the increase this year is $13.7 million above the levels under 20 in 23-24 that were provided by the former government, and that accounts for $55.8 million in the urban policing grant. A real commitment to increasing that amount, and with the message to those communities that we're not walking away from the table. We're going to continue to meet these challenges head on alongside them. If we can partner with them, if we can leverage the knowledge that they have and the work that they're already doing, that's how we're going to have success. That extends from municipalities and towns and cities all the way to First Nations across this province. When we have a true partner in the provincial government at the table, we're getting good things done. It's not about playing politics. It's not about using divisive rhetoric and amping it up and, making wild claims about one party's position or another. It's about actually stepping up at the resources and being true partners, listening at the table. That's how we're going to get good things done when it comes to public safety.
The Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Chairperson, and interesting at a minute and 12 left, Minister Stead, that's why we are listening. He obviously isn't listening, because in my last question, I mentioned Manitoba First Nations Police Service, and the question before, I mentioned Manitoba First Nations Police Service, which is our First Nations Police Service of jurisdiction for Manitoba. Outside of that, it is the RCMP that provides those policing services. So I want to be very specific. You announced today funding for a retail crime strategy, overtime dollars for the Winnipeg Police Service. You've provided a lot of readily available information on budgets that are open to all of us if we open up the documents. So that wasn't my question. The question is, you funded Winnipeg Police Service specifically. Is there financial dollars, overtime dollars, that other communities can expect? And I mentioned the police services specifically, not communities. So the Altona Police Service, the Winkler Police Service, the Morden Police Service, the Rivers Police Service, the Brandon Police Service, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the Manitoba First Nations Police Service, the Victoria Beach Police Service, the St. Anne Police Service, and the RM of Cornwallis Police Service. And I'm sure I'm missing one more that's not coming to mind. Is there going to be dollars coming to them for overtime deployment as you've offered Winnipeg Police Service, or are they on their own for this crime?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
No, we've been clear with the committee here today, clear with Manitobans, that no one's on their own, that we're going to be partners. We're going to be true partners with communities across this province and the good work that's being done by law enforcement. And that's why we've been clear. The member opposite on one hand says we're not providing enough specificity in terms of the detail and the budget, and then on the other hand says, why are you providing me these numbers from our budget? Well, that's what the process is here for. So that's he may not like it that we're stepping up where his previous government failed. but it's the reality. It's a reality that is appreciated by police forces across this province. But I guess I'm also surprised that, and again, I mean, we could probably imagine that he mentioned specifically in his last question that members of his caucus are representing those police forces around the province, and that's why he's bringing them forward. And maybe he doesn't have the same kind of voice when it comes to the city of Winnipeg. Maybe he hasn't heard some of the challenges that have happened around the city of Winnipeg recently. But I would hope that he's at the very least picking up the newspaper and reading the headlines at the very least to know that there are serious concerns right now in our city. And so I don't know if it's because he doesn't have members of his caucus advocating for the serious nature of the situation right now in the city of Winnipeg. But I think he should understand this is a very serious and unique situation that's happening right now. And that's why we're taking this action, this immediate action. Across the province, the work that's being done in law enforcement, there is a multitude of options that we can help work with police forces to enhance the work that they're doing. And when he, talks about different, as he goes through his list of different police forces, I can, in my own mind, I remember that conversation, and what they were asking for was different than what that community was asking for, and what that community's needs are, and what the challenges are in that community. It's not a simple paint with one brush. It's about providing the base level funding that increases rather than being frozen, rather than being cut, rather than playing political games. Providing that baseline, increasing funding, and then listening to communities about what their unique challenges are, meeting those challenges. Communities are willing to do that. Communities have come to us in a very good way, willing to undertake these projects and these challenges, undertake solutions to these challenges head on. They're willing to do that. The opposition seems stuck on the idea that, the previous government did everything right, so that's their starting position, which I think is, I know most Manitobans would reject, because they did in the election in 2023. But they would also, I think, just be bewildered that the member opposite, who sees these headlines the same as everybody else, maybe doesn't know the people in the same way that we do, because we talk to them every single day, but should understand this is a unique challenge that's happening right now in our city, in the city of Winnipeg. And that's why the Winnipeg Police Service has been a great partner. The mayor has been a great partner, but we're not limiting it just to one place or another. We're working with communities, understanding what their needs are, and continuing to build on opportunities. And the member opposite would be advised to undertake some of that work himself. Get on the road, get outside the perimeter, and put some miles on traveling our great province. And members opposite think it's funny. I don't think visiting folks in their communities and listening to their concerns firsthand is funny. I think it's important work, and they may think it's funny because they didn't do it. They didn't understand the importance of it. We're not going to do that. We're going to listen to communities and work on their specific challenges. And so, again, the funding has increased. Member opposite doesn't want to hear it, but it's increased, and that's clear in the budget, as he mentions. It's clear in the budget. We're increasing funding, and when it comes to specific challenges, we're going to stand with law enforcement. We're going to stand with municipalities and those who have those
Member's time has
challenges.
expired. The honourable member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Chairperson, and I'm wondering, Honourable Chairperson, the process in this, my understanding is you ask a question, you try and get an answer, or you get it under advisement. But so my question is, one more time, is there overtime dollars going to be distributed to the other police services that I have listed and all other police services in Manitoba without the rhetoric, yes or no?
The The Honorable Minister of Justice.
Well, thank you very much, Chair, and I appreciate the opportunity again to reiterate our commitment to working with communities that have a unique set of challenges. And, you know, and I think are coming to this in a way that is honest and is realistic about the ability to support the work that they're doing. We do, in fact, the member opposite should know, he's former law enforcement, so he should know a little bit more about the Joint Forces operations that communities have the opportunity to apply for, that can offer some of those targeted resources, specifically when it comes to organized crime or other specific challenges that they're facing. And this is a program that has actually been utilized, you know, by the communities that he's listing off. For example, in Winkler, which was funded for an illegal weapons project that they undertook just within the last month, or within this month, an additional $43,000 that was allocated directly to Altona, Morden, Winkler area to specifically deal with the challenge that they were having. So that's the kind of partnerships that we want. Those are the kind of ways that we can work with different communities that are having a challenge. But for the member opposite to turn a blind eye and to say, you know, the challenges in Winnipeg aren't a concern of his, I'm very surprised that the member opposite, I know he has a focus on Brandon, and he has a caucus that is exclusively filled with members from outside of the city of Winnipeg. But I would hope that he's doing the work necessary to go out and talk to communities here in the city as well. Because these are unprecedented situations that developed over year of cuts and you know, an ignorance from the previous government that reached levels that left us with a giant mess to clean up. Cuts have consequences, the member opposite might have heard me say. And that means that a cut in education now has an impact down the line. In healthcare, in education, in housing, in mental health supports, all things that the members opposite did nothing about. And in fact, every chance they had, they would cut it. And, you know, I'm just bewildered that the member opposite wouldn't understand that what's happening right now should not stand, that we need to be clear from a provincial government standpoint that we will take action, and this is how we do it. This is how we do it, Honourable Chairperson. We take action by funding initiatives like this, by working with communities, whether it be the city of Winkler or that region of the province, with regards to the illegal weapons project that they undertook, or whether it be the city of Winnipeg when it comes to what's happening right now. We're going to continue to partner at every point with law enforcement and with communities that are doing that work. So, you know, again, the member opposite continues to want to tell Manitobans everything the Stephenson government did was bang on, and that's what we want to do again. Well, Manitobans rejected that. They rejected the division, they rejected the cuts, they rejected the short-sightedness of the previous government. Because at the end of the day, that's one of the most egregious things that I think, or I don't know the right word to say here, Honourable Chair, but you know, it's just so base for a politician to only be thinking about what can I do that'll benefit me right now, instead of what can we do over the long term to invest in our province and make things better. The changes that we're making as a government, the work that we're doing, is going to see benefits now, but it's going to see more benefits in 5 years from now, and even more benefits in 10 years from now, and even more benefits in 15 years from now. But are we doing it because the short-term political gain? No, we're doing it because it's the right thing to do. And at every step of the way, if we're listening to community and we're partnering with the good people that are already doing that work, then we're on the right path. That's what Manitobans elected us to do, and that's what we're going to continue to focus on as we go forward.
The honourable member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Chairperson, and so many questions that I have left. I would have loved to ask questions more specifically about Winnipeg, but the minister seems to take time grandstanding and reaching for straws in his statement. We've probably got over $1 million in staff resources at your fingertips, and very capable staff, because I've worked with them in my previous life, and I would send a message via email, and in less time that it takes the honourable minister to answer a question today, honourable chairperson, I would get a response back. A telephone call I could pick up. The staff are readily available to the minister, honourable chairperson, right here in this very room. I know they could lean over and answer this, so I'm going to take the no answer as a no. There's no respect and no funding coming to the other communities and police services that are suffering the same fate as Winnipeg is. It's just much more highly publicized here, and I've brought those forward in the chamber many times. So you know what, and it is so much grandstanding and grasping at straws that you heard laughter from both sides of the table here, knowing that it's almost embarrassing putting these words that the minister is putting forward, honourable chairperson, discussing this. I know, honourable chairperson, he has no real life experience when it comes to policing, when it comes to law enforcement, when it comes to public safety, and being a career politician, somehow using those words to deflect and dodge, as I've heard, and being more of a showman than a statesman, comes forward in these sort of things. I was hoping to have some very robust conversations about what has been put forward in this budget, what we can expect. It was a simple question. Is there overtime dollars coming for the other police services? I'm going to take that as no. But my next question then, as we move forward, because retail crime is very important to me in not just Winnipeg, but every place in Manitoba. And I know the Minister, Honourable Chairperson, keeps saying our city, and I know he's referring to himself and his colleagues, but stepping outside of the perimeter, he'll learn that it's our Manitoba, and all Manitoba gets affected by this. So my question is going to be, and I hope I get at least one answer before we leave estimates today, because I learned from my colleagues talking to them at the table that you come and ask questions, and you get an answer, and there's highly paid, highly qualified, highly efficient staff here that the minister can take a break as long as he wants, take that time and lean into his very capable staff and get the answer. And I wasn't going to use up my 5 minutes on questions, but on this one I feel I have to, because I haven't received one answer yet on any of this. So my question is, do you feel that $300 for a security camera is enough to help retailers here in the city of Winnipeg and the province of Manitoba?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Well, member opposite denies the challenges that are facing folks in community here in the city of Winnipeg and across the province. He doesn't like the answer about the funding that I laid out in my previous answer. He wants to just say it's highly publicized.
The hour being 5 o'clock, committee rise.